Looking at some of this year's releases with all of the amazing LEGO Star Wars remakes we've had, I was looking over my current wish list of sets and seeing which sets and figures I've missed out on over the years and reminding myself on which ones of them are in desperate need of remakes. Captain Rex is one of my favorite LEGO minifigures, so to actually have him in hand because of that little microfighter, having him with Cody, genuinely feels like I have a missing puzzle piece to my collection. The Rise of Skywalker Millennium Falcon remake set is arguably one of the best playset Millennium Falcons to date. It's so good in fact that they still have it available through the LEGO store, and that movie came out years ago now. I've separated this all out into separate eras and decided to pick just one remake per movie because otherwise, genuinely speaking, this video could probably be an hour long per movie, with everything that I genuinely believe is a necessary set to be remade at this point in time. Now this video won't consist of my desired set ideas though, things like a Theed Palace or the Geonosis Arena or the Crate Resistance Base, because that's all a video on its own. There are timestamps down below for those interested, and without further ado, let's talk about some LEGO Star Wars remakes. So we start off with The Phantom Menace, one of my most nostalgic treasured entries in this franchise. I basically want to see remakes of just about everything that was released during the 1999 waves. Some runner-ups here include the Gungan sub because I do think that the minifigures are amazing in that remake, but really, I think it's just because I want a Queen Amidala figure more than I want an actual remake of the sub. The next runner-up here would be a remake of an MTT. I actually really like the most recent one that we got that not a lot of people do like because of the size difference. I don't have any version of them personally though in my collection, so a remake would be amazing just for me personally. It was pretty tough choosing between this and what I ended up going with, but realistically when I think of the Phantom Menace, I most definitely think of the pod races. I feel like LEGO would love to go all out here, making a bunch of them with various different interesting characters we see in the movies. We had a really good Anakin's pod racer a few years ago for the anniversary sets, but I want to see Sebulba's remade here, and I want to see the other pilots from the Bunta Eve Classic, which would just be a love letter in my eyes to the N64 game that I really adore. Give me the Rats Tyrell, Odie Mandrell, Gascano, and more, and make this a big fancy multi-pack set. Or you could release them all as individual pod races, because I don't really need another Anakin's pod racer since that 2019 one was so good already, but for those who missed it at the time, now you get another chance. A remake of Watto would also be appreciated because I did miss him at release. For Attack of the Clones, there's a lot of potential ideas there. It's a little frustrating actually at how much this episode specifically is overlooked in the realm of LEGO. Considering 25 years of this theme's existence and all, you would think that you would see most of these ideas already. Runner-ups here include the Bounty Hunter Pursuit, which was only released once during the release of the movie. I adore this set. I wish I had it myself, but unfortunately it just wasn't meant to be. Jango Fett Slave 1 I think is the obvious choice here, and it's one that everyone's been clamoring for years now. We did have a Jango Fett remake a few years ago, close to a decade ago now I think, but no Slave 1, and we all hoped that the 20th anniversary set would be a Slave 1 from Attack of the Clones. The set that I really want to see remade the most though is easily, in my eyes, the Duel on Geonosis. I think the figures look really cool. I'd love to have some more of those separatist leaders, because I don't think I have any of them actually. I love the base idea here. My ideal remake would see the inclusion of Anakin and Obi-Wan. Really, I want to see this one remade the most because it's criminal in my eyes that it's been more than a decade since we last saw a Count Dooku figure on shelves. I actually think that's pretty appalling. We've had countless remakes of Maul, we've had Grievous re-releases, Vader, and Palpatine, but we haven't had a Count Dooku. The set's currently priced at around $300 in brand new condition. Count Dooku's worth about half of that. Here's hoping that Count Dooku receives the same Captain Rex treatment honestly. As for Clone Wars, I don't even need to spend some time on this for the runner-ups, of which there are many, believe me. The set that I want to see remade the most here easily is the Clone Gunship, which is funny because we did just have a Clone Wars era gunship release. It came out last year, and one that was rather successful I might add, because it still sells out around these parts quite regularly. The problem being it's red, and I think LEGO did this on purpose, knowing all too well that people like me would go wild for this thing. I promised myself I wouldn't get it because it's not my ideal color scheme of a definitive gunship, and lo and behold there's a review on this channel for it and everything. I ate my words, I sure did. The one I want to see remade the most is the exact one from the Clone Wars movie release. The more I think about it, the more I think that that's my personal favorite gunship. The addition of the speeder is a really cool feature to me, but it's the figures and details that really win me over. I love the Clone Wars miniseries series that released, so the graffiti art there reminds me of that amazing era of Star Wars storytelling and merchandising. The minifigures including Cody Phase 1, Obi-Wan, Plo Koon, and the only time we got Asajj Ventress in this appearance is an insane selection of minifigures. I go back and forth between this and the Geonosis Duel being my current White Whale purchase. Please just make something happen, LEGO. As for episode 3, there's a few things to cover here. Anything based around Kashyyyk is right up there for me. I always loved the look of those sets released around the time of the movie. The clone vehicles were cool and all, but that catamaran is so unique for that theme. I also love the Palpatine's arrest set like many of us do, and a remake of all those Jedi included would be amazing, but I would want to make sure that they're properly remade, like Kit Fisto needs a whole new face mold or something. I'm also not too sure, given the themes of that scene, if it's going to be a reality that we ever see stuff like that depicted in LEGO again. It sucks, but anyway. The set that I really want to see remade here, in a way, has actually already been remade, more so reimagined, and that's the General Grievous chase set. This was very simple. It's Grievous, it's Obi-Wan, and it's their respective rides. We did see a remake of that big wheel in a set that released some few years ago now, however, no awesome lizard creature for Obi-Wan, and I think everyone criticized this at the time for that reason. It feels like a huge miss. Now the Thanator set from the Avatar line looks to use a headpiece that I think is perfect for the Boga creatures, so I was waiting patiently for LEGO to announce a new remake, but doesn't seem like there will be one in the current pipeline, which is a shame too, because next year is the anniversary. So that's it for the prequels era. As for the Rebels era, there's not too many that interest me actually that I want to be remade. Like I mentioned, I love the idea of anything revolving around Kashyyyk, but I don't think people would want to see a remake of the Kashyyyk gunship thing over other sets from the Rebels line. I'm pretty easygoing here. I just want to have any set that involves Ezra with his later season's appearance. It's a little frustrating that we don't have this Jedi look for Ezra, and ideally he would be included in a smaller base set, because that's how I got the really cool Ezra and Sabine figures the first time round. Disney spin-off movies now, Solo and Rogue One, same boat sort of, especially for Solo. The only set that I regret missing was the Millennium Falcon. I have the 2015 one, so at the time when the white one came out, I told myself that getting another Falcon was just silly. Then of course I ended up getting the episode 9 one, and I felt like a right fool because the white one's actually amazing in comparison. Similar to my complaints about the Ezra figures, any set that sees this version of Han, Chewie, Kira, and Lando remade in those appearances is going to be the ideal set for me. Preferably a small release, but I wouldn't mind seeing that Falcon remade. But again, I don't think the community would agree with me on that. Like, I don't think anyone would actually appreciate getting the Solo Falcon remake. As for Rogue One, Krennic Shuttle is really cool, but it's very easy. It's gotta be the U-Wing. For as beloved as that movie is, it's crazy to me that we don't have more sets from Rogue One in the LEGO waves. Geonosis only being released in 2 sets is crazy to me. I love that ship's design so much, and clearly the creatives do as well, because despite being set in the original trilogy's era and never appearing in those 3 movies, it sure does manage to make its way around the galaxy in every other new material ever made. It's a really cool looking set and idea, so I am bummed that I missed it at release. Original trilogy time, and man, what even is there to be remade at this point? Attack of the Clones features around 50 sets made for that movie according to Brickset, and A New Hope has at least 150. LEGO should just give these movies a rest already. It was tough to find a set that I think really deserved a remake, but I ultimately landed on the Mos Eisley Cantina. The Master Builder one that we got was an incredible set that does retire soon, and I highly advise anyone who's missed it to go and grab it. It's one of my all-time favorites. The last time we had a playset scaled Mos Eisley Cantina though was in 2018, and I actually think it's a pretty bad looking set, to be honest. It's severely condensed. The best one is easily the 2014 one, which feels like a pretty dense compact build. It also includes some really good looking extras like Luke's Landspeeder and a dewback. And if LEGO chose to remake it exactly as it is, they get to re-release Luke's Landspeeder, so it's a win-win for us and them. Now for The Empire Strikes Back, I'm sick of Hoth, man. It feels like all LEGO ever want to do is Hoth when it comes to this movie. Again, according to Brickset, there are 135 sets tagged as being considered Empire Strikes Back based sets. Of the 135 sets, 71 of them are tagged under Hoth. I think it's time we leave Hoth. It's time to go back to Cloud City. I missed that Master Builder series release, which at the time received some negative reception from the community, but I think people have started to come around on it after all these years. I've always been pretty mixed on that set, and I still am, so I don't actually feel too bad about missing it. The last time we had a playset release for Cloud City though was back in 2016, kind of with the carbon freezer chamber, but I want to see a proper playset display similar to that Yavin Celebration set we saw last year, and I want it to be a remake of the infamous Cloud City set from 2003. I'll put it bluntly, this thing looks like crap for $13,000. Let's be real here. 3,000 NZD for a Boba Fett minifigure is hilarious. The aftermarket community here will never cease to amaze me. As for Return of the Jedi, I think everybody wants to see Endor remade, and I do too. The Ewok village is a pretty easy one to pick, but actually, I'm gonna go for the Battle of Endor set, since I think it gives us a good mix of everything from this movie. We get rebels, an Imperial base with some troopers, preferably an AT-ST walker, and a good mix of the Ewoks. The next best idea that I would have would be a Jabba sail barge remake, and hey, lucky for me, it sounds like we won't have to wait too long for that one. As for the sequels now, there's actually not too many here that I desperately want to see remade. I actually have a lot more ideas from this trilogy that I would rather see translated into sets for the first time. Like, I think there's a lot of missed potential in these movies that LEGO could have benefited from adapting into sets. As for Force Awakens, I think I land on Takodana. I adore that set so much already, and so I think a remake would be pretty cool. Seeing a more fleshed out build with a bunch of extra minifigures here, given that the sequence in the movie is supposed to be this movie's version of the Mos Eisley Cantina, I would want to see a whole bunch of really neat looking alien molds. It is the 10-year anniversary next year, so you never know. As for Last Jedi, again, it was all pretty much covered actually in my eyes. All of the best set ideas I have are for scenes that we never saw translated into LEGO sets. It's a toss up for me between Kylo Ren's TIE Fighter and the Arc 2 Island Training, depending on how the remake would go. Kylo Ren's TIE Fighter could honestly just be re-released as is. It's that good of a set. Everything about it is perfect in my eyes, and I'm still bummed that I missed it at release. The Arc 2 Island Training is another one of my all-time favorite LEGO sets from the Star Wars line, so for a remake, I really want to see something bigger and more in-depth. Give me some of the caretakers as minifigures because they looked amazing in the Skywalker Saga video game. Give me Chewbacca and R2-D2 here as well. A fully enclosed hut for Luke or an actual hilltop would be really cool as well. Just give me something that's a bit more substantial. And finally, for the Rise of Skywalker, again, the same things I said about the last movie. I think what we got was fine. It's actually what we didn't get that I have more of an issue with. I guess where I land is ultimately maybe remake the Knights of Renship, because this set's bad, man. Make it to scale with the minifigures, release it with all of the members this time instead. There wasn't much point in actually trying to buy every set for these silly underused lame characters because none of them could fit in the actual ship anyway. And I think that's my total list of all the remakes I want to see. I would genuinely buy all of those prequel sets if they were remade, and then for the original trilogy and sequel trilogy sets, it would kind of depend on the quality of those remakes, I think. I do hope we see some of the desired items within some of the next few releases over these years, but what are your thoughts on LEGO Star Wars remakes? You should let me know down below. Liking this video and subscribing here does help to support more videos like this in the future. Ka kite anō everyone, I hope to see you all next time.